Hey, it's Mike from the Run Testers, and in this video we are going to be talking about this shoe. This is the Saucony Triumph 20. Now, we were big fans of the Saucony Triumph 19, and with the 20 there are some quite big changes here, but ultimately it should make it a more comfortable shoe, a highly cushioned shoe as well, that's well suited to run longer distances in. So myself and Tom will be giving you our initial running thoughts in this video. Nick will also have the shoe, so he'll jump in on the full review. We'll get into what's different from this shoe to this shoe. We'll get into those first run thoughts, and then we'll give you our initial verdict on the Saucony Triumph 20. So what's new with the Saucony Triumph 20? Well, it's still a neutral shoe that goes big on cushioning and is designed to be a good fit for eating up long running distances in soft, comfortable surroundings. In the UK, it's priced at £150, making it £5 more expensive than the Triumph 19. In the US, it's priced at $160, which is $10 more than what you can pick up the Triumph 19 for currently. Saucony says the shoe is now lighter, and our UK size 8 came in at 270 grams compared to the 290 grams in the same size for the Triumph 19. The upper has been revamped, swapping those spongy laces for flatter ones while adding small straps on the sides of the eyelets to offer a more secure feel without adding additional pressure on the top of the foot. One big difference lies with the change in drop, going from an 8mm one to a 10mm drop, coming in at 37mm at the heel and 27mm at the forefoot for both men and women's shoes. There's now an upgraded version of Saucony's PWRUN Plus midsole foam that's lighter than the one included on the 19, and there's now also a PWRUN Plus sock liner instead of a form fit one to boost things on the comfort front too. Saucony says the overall shoe geometry has changed here too, with the promise to give it more rocker-like attributes than the previous Triumph. Things have changed on the outsole front too, which is still made from a durable rubber, though the pattern has changed and it feels a touch thicker as well.
Fit for me in the Triumph 20s. I would say true to size, but they are slightly long for me, so you might want to think about sizing down a half size. I'd probably stick true to size because I haven't found them too bad, but they do have a bit of extra space in them. The upper is also quite roomy as well, I've noticed. It takes a bit of time to get a nice lockdown fit in these shoes, so maybe size down half a size, but I'd probably stick to true to size for my running.
So fit for me felt true to size. I have a UK size 8. My Triumph 19 is a UK size 8 as well. I had no kind of issues in my first run in it. I think you get a generous amount of space in the toe box up front here. I think you get a nice hold at the midfoot as well. And you're getting similar levels of padding, I would say, compared to the 19 around the heel collar and then also in the tongue as well. So one of the changes is these kind of little straps you're getting here. It kind of offers a kind of more lockdown feel, but it doesn't put that pressure on the top of your foot, which is not something I massively notice, but I can definitely appreciate that will make a difference in terms of those kind of longer runs that you will want to do in this shoe. So yeah, for me, if you're going to go in this shoe, I would say it was true to size for me, my UK size 8, just like it was in the Triumph 19 as well.
So I've just got back from a 7k run in the Triumph 20s. I started off with a 5k at my marathon pace, marathon training at the moment, and that was at 4-minute 23-minute kilometers. And then I did 2k at a sort of cool down pace, which is about 5:20 minute kilometers, and I loved it. I really enjoyed the Triumph 20 for that run. I was a big fan of the previous Triumph 19. I thought it was a fantastic shoe for cushioned running, but also just for daily miles as well. It has a nice bit of versatility in it. The Triumph 20, more of the same, but I think an improvement. There's definitely some modifications made to this midsole foam. I think there's more foam in there. It feels a little bit lighter. It feels a little bit bouncier. And it definitely feels even more versatile than the Triumph 20 for me. Over that marathon pace run, I expected to find it harder than I actually did because cushioned shoes not particularly well designed for running at that pace for me. Most of the cushioned shoes that I've got generally don't feel that conducive to running at that speed, and they can be a bit of a slog. Things like the Glycerin and the New Balance More V3, not great at running anything over easy miles. This is a lot more versatile. That midsole foam has just got a nice little bit of bounce in it, but it's also quite cushioned as well. It just feels really comfortable on the feet, which I don't always get with heavily cushioned shoes. Sometimes when I wear a heavily cushioned shoe, it will do the job, but I don't really notice it on my feet. Whereas this, it just feels like there's a nice turnover in it. But really, the main thing I notice about this, and to a lesser extent the Triumph 19, is that little bit of bounce that you get from the run, which really makes it better for running at a more versatile pace. So at that 4:23 minute kilometre pace, it felt great, and I definitely didn't feel like I was wearing a heavily cushioned heavy shoe. It just felt really light and bouncy, and just make every step just feel like there was a lovely bit of responsiveness and bounce in it as well. So really enjoyed that run. At the slower pace, yeah, perfect. That 2K I did at my easy pace was just exactly what this is designed for, and just felt great. So yeah, that first 7K, very successful, very much enjoyed it, and I think this may be an improvement on the Triumph 19, which I'm surprised about because that was such a fantastic shoe as well. So really good work, Saucony, for what the updates that they've made to this shoe. I believe there's actually a slightly higher stack in the shoe than the Triumph 20 as well, which just goes to add to that cushioning. But I think this PWWRUN plus midsole foam is just a fantastic foam. It's really, really light and bouncy, and just by adding a little bit more of that foam into the shoe, it's really noticeable. I think it's a good improvement.
So in terms of my first run, I've done just over 4 miles in this shoe. Very comfortable, easy, slow pace, and the kind of pace that I would use the Saucony Triumph 19 for, and I have done it. I've used it for a lot of long, slower runs. And in terms of how this shoe feels in comparison to the 19, I will say it definitely feels like a markedly kind of different experience, and I think generally it's going to be for the positive. I think the first thing here to say is that it is a lighter shoe. Now, I didn't find the weight of the Triumph 19 particularly bad for me or particularly heavy, but this is dropping down 20 grams for me in terms of my UK size 8 compared to the 19. So in the grand scheme of things and going those longer distances, that is going to make a difference, I think, for me. But for me on that run, I think the main thing for me is the fact that you've got that change in the drop. You've got this PWWRUN plus midsole foam, which does feel different. It does feel more plush. It does feel softer. I think that's aided by the fact you've got this kind of softer, squishier kind of sock liner in here as well, so your foot kind of sinks in. But then you've got that, I kind of crashed back on my heel, and when I was doing that on my runs, it didn't kind of sink in. You did get a kind of bounce back that kind of made sure you got a nice, enjoyable ride in here. And having just run in the Nike Invincible Run 2, there's hallmarks of that shoe in here for me. In the sense that I think, you can go, and get a comfortable run in this shoe, but also I think you have the capacity to maybe do a little bit of the quicker stuff as well if you wanted to. I think you've got the capacity to do that in this shoe. That's what I kind of felt. I felt like I wanted to pick it up in places in terms of my speed, even though I was going out very slow and very easy in this shoe. And then you've got this outsole, which I do think is going to make the shoe a more durable one. The pattern has changed in terms of what you've got on the outsole on the 90, but ultimately I think it's a little bit thicker. There's a little bit more to that outsole here, which says to me that this is going to last. It's going to hold up against a lot more wear, and probably go a lot longer in terms of that kind of mileage as well. So yeah, for me, all very positive on the 20, I think, so far. Like I say, not a massive run in it, but in that short run, I think I learned a fair amount about how this shoe compares to the 19. That change in drop definitely is going to make a difference. That PWWRUN midsole cushioning has changed, I think, for the better. And then you've got an overall lighter shoe as well, which I think can only be a good thing, particularly if you're running longer. So all positive for me in my first run. And this is definitely a shoe I'm looking forward to running in more too.
So my verdict on the Triumph 20 after that first run is I am very impressed and very excited to run in this shoe more. My current favourite running shoe for easy miles is the New Balance More V3, very closely followed by the Brooks Glycerin 20. I think this is probably in the running to knock those off the top of the charts for me, because that run was just fantastic. I love the New Balance More V3 because it is so soft, and has a nice rolling motion when you're running in it, but it doesn't feel versatile. I've said this in every video before. It's just a very, very good, easy, comfy miles. The Triumph 20 just has a bit more than that. It just feels a little bit more versatile, a little bit better for running faster. I think this would be a shoe where you could buy it if you were doing a marathon and you wanted a shoe to take you all the way from your training all the way up to marathon day. If you were going for a comfortable marathon and you just wanted something comfortable, but you could go at a slightly faster pace than you would do in your training, whereas something like the New Balance More V3, I would never dream of doing a marathon in that shoe. I think it would just be too sluggish and is not really designed for running consistently at an alright pace. Whereas the Triumph 20, I think this would be a great shoe if you really wanted to sort of have a shoe that would tick all the boxes, but your main focus was cushioning and you wanted comfort over the marathon miles. I would also say that in comparison to something like the Brooks Glycerin 20, it's actually quite similar. That shoe is not as versatile. It's probably a little bit more versatile than the New Balance More V3. I think this sits at the top of the pile for versatility, and I'd definitely pick this if I was going to do more training runs where I wanted cushioning, but I also wanted to run at a faster pace. I would ever use the Brooks Glycerin 20 or the New Balance More V3 for anything other than just nice, easy miles.
So, initial thoughts on the Saucony Triumph 20 is that it does feel like a very big upgrade on the Saucony Triumph 19. And if you like the 19, I think the improvements here that you're getting on the 20 do make it a better shoe. I think it makes it a shoe that has a little bit more scope to run a little bit quicker in it as well. Whereas I think with the 19, I think it was very much for those kind of easy slung, low, comfortable speeds. And I think in terms of what you're getting in terms of that change in drop, in terms of that type of cushioning or the changes in the cushioning that you're getting here in the Saucony Triumph 20, I think that changes things somewhat. And I also think it's going to potentially be a bit more of a durable shoe as well, particularly in terms of what, you know, the slight changes that you're getting in the outsole too. Now, in terms of what else is out there, what other cushion shoes are out there that you can potentially pick up, you could spend less on something like the Puma Velocity Nitro 2. There's things like the Brooks Glycerin 20, which I think gives you a bit more versatility in terms of the kind of speed you can do in that shoe. And the obvious one I think I would compare this to is the Nike Invincible 2, which I think is designed for similar types of runs. I think the Zoom X midsole foam for me feels a little bit softer and a bit more squidgy than it does here. But ultimately, I think it gives you the same kind of characteristics in terms of the level of comfort, the types of runs you can do in it. This fit better than me, that was more true to size to me compared to the Nike. But I think in terms of those shoes, I think it sits very well. Obviously, you're going to pay a bit more for other shoes like the Puma and the Brooks Glycerin, but I think in terms of what you're getting in a shoe, it does feel very nice. And if you're looking for a shoe that fits in that mold of the, you know, something you can go to for those slow, kind of longer runs, and you want that kind of big level of cushioning, you want that comfort, I feel like potentially you're going to get that here with the Saucony Triumph 20. So yeah, all positive for me so far. You know, it's a little bit more expensive in the UK and in the US in terms of what you're going to pay for, but ultimately I do think you're getting some really nice upgrades here from the 19. So there you have it. Those are our initial thoughts on the Saucony Triumph 20. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Nick will have this shoe as well, so he will join us in the multi-tester review. Now, if you've got any questions about this shoe or other shoes you want to see it compared against, let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and don't forget to sign up for our podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts as well. We'll put links in the video caption as well too, so you can sign up for that as well. And yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.